So, guys, this is my review for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, episode 2 of season 1. With that, let's dive right into it. Yeah, episode 1, like I talked about in my review yesterday, episode 1, the whole time I'm like, why is Dio hating on JoJo so much? And I feel like in episode 2 I kind of got my answer. I'm still kind of like questioning still why he has such a humongous beef towards JoJo. He and that's the thing, like Dio says to JoJo in this episode, you're somebody lower, you're lower class basically. Somebody who's underneath me, you shouldn't have touched me basically, because they get they get into another fight and basically JoJo wins the fight. And it kind of reminded me of one of my favorite movies, which some of you probably seen and heard, called the Count of Monte Cristo back in 2002. Between the characters Edmond and Fernand. Kind of reminded me of that, because basically the same thing that Fernand's basically saying, like, you're the son of a clerk, and you're beneath me. You don't deserve what I believe should be mine. And that's kind of how I'm viewing this, this relationship that that JoJo and Dio have. But again, Dio does say too, like, his plan is to basically, to take the inheritance, the riches, the title, whatever it is, from JoJo and from his family. And originally too, I also thought, in their original fight in episode 1, that, because that's the thing, like JoJo mentions it, like, there was blood that was splattered on that mask. The mask activated its hooks or whatever, that attaches to the person who's wearing it. That he originally, I thought too, like, Dio didn't notice it, but Dio knew about the mask. We found that out basically at the end of the episode. And like, that's the thing, like, Dio was playing it off, like, there was that time skip, the seven years had gone back past. It's now 1888, the year 1888 now. They grew up, as you can see here. JoJo's older, they're young men. I want to say early 20s at the least. At the same time, it could be like around 20 years old, maybe even 19, but they're still young men. And JoJo, he's still in, even through this episode, he still doesn't really fully trust Dio, which I totally understand and agree with that. Because again, I in the beginning, like that first 5+ minutes, I'm thinking like, oh, well, maybe Dio matured, maybe he matured and he looked past whatever hatred or whatever whatever unnecessary hatred that he has towards JoJo. But that's not the case. He was literally buying his time. 7 years had passed, and he felt like, around this time, because JoJo and Dio, the adopted son, their father's sick, and we found out that Dio's the one who's been giving, their father this medicine that's killing him. We see that JoJo finds Dio's original father's letter to him, and basically, like, he's questioning Dio about the medicine and everything. And like I said, they have that fight, where Dio tries to punch JoJo. He ate that punch. He took that joint like it was nothing, and then tossed him off the rail down to the floor below. And I was amped about that. But again, we found out that Dio's been killing their father slowly over the course of, I want to say, a few years now. Maybe a couple of years, whichever. But it's just been like a slow burn, because he ultimately wants to take over JoJo's inheritance. But then we see JoJo here. Where I forgot the specific place because I just finished watching the episode. He goes to this place to find the medicine that he needs to hopefully heal his father. He runs into the bandits, the ogre. What is it? Ogre Street or something like that. If I remember that specific thing, he goes here and he runs into those bandits. And they try to attack him, but he pretty much takes whatever they're throwing at because his resolve is much more stronger. His resolve to save his father is much more stronger, which I really love too. His resolve is much more stronger than him taking on this pain and hurt from these bandits. Even to the point, guys, where JoJo after the fight, like even with the multiple other bandits coming to try to help, like JoJo's like still treating them as human beings. He's like, look, dude, I care about my father. I'm trying to save him, and I dude even asked him, like, why did you hold back from killing me? JoJo's like, I believe that you have a family that you need to get back to. Like dog, like JoJo's my homie right now. Like most cats would be like, you trying to kill me? It's an eye for an eye. Like you try to kill me, I'm trying to kill you, son. Got to get you out the way, so I can get to my destination. But he was holding back. This lets me know JoJo wasn't fully taking full force on punches or defending himself. And I probably was doing the same thing with Dio back at the house, back at the mansion. So, JoJo was that dude for that. And, literally the guy was like, well, there's an Asian doctor that you're looking for, but he's a sly fox or whatever. And then they cut to the next scene, which is Dio in the mask. And we have Dio taking on his father's drunken mindset, going out and drinking and getting drunk. He's upset himself about that. But then again, we get some other random people he bumps into, and that's when he uses the mask, and that's when I found out that this mask turns people into vampires. Interesting stuff, because I'm still curious about the origin about this mask. Interesting stuff about the mask that with the hooks and stuff, and it's applying the hooks to the mask, where I was curious about that. I Dio automatically assumed that it all ultimately, which technically it does, ultimately it kills the person. Technically it does. It turns them to a vampire. Vampires are, they're not alive anymore. They can't take sunlight, as we see at the end of this episode. The guy who he applied the mask who did indeed turn into a vampire, and he dies with the sunlight. But the crazier thing is his hand when he went into Dio's neck. That's how he was sucking his essence, his energy from his body. So that's that's a different avenue, a different way of basically being a this is a different way. This is a different type of a vampire that I'm so used to seeing. Vampires are one of my favorite fictional monsters within the monster realm of the fictional world. So there's that too. And then they also talked about the way at the beginning about Jack the Ripper killing somebody, and it looked like Dio too. So I'm curious about that too. Maybe that's a future event, not so much as a current event. Maybe that's a future event to come. Because of the time skip. But all in all, guys, I really enjoyed this episode. I did indeed enjoy episode 1, but this one definitely was really, really good too, even with the time skip. I'm kind of curious of the in-between of those 7 years, though, too. That's the other thing I wanted to mention. I wanted to say that I'm curious about what happened in between the 7 years. Maybe they'll tackle that. And also, I'm worried about Dio using the mask on JoJo. Even though this is called JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, and it kind of answers my question here, I'm kind of questioning, like, would Dio use the mask on JoJo to turn him into a vampire to the point where when he does, the sun comes out and it basically kills him. I'm curious about if that were to occur, but it more likely may not. So that's pretty much something that I'm questioning. But that's my review for episode 2, guys, of season 1 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Leave some comments in the comment section below, guys. What did y'all think of this review? What did y'all think of episode 2 when you first sat down to watch it for the first time from season 1? Let's talk about some things, but hopefully I will talk to you all next time with more JoJo Bizarre Adventures review videos. Peace, guys.